on Friday night, I couldn't sleep. I'm having some issues with my sleep patterns at the moment. It's a it's a work in progress. So I thought, okay, let me see what Miss Candice Owens is up to, because I've been out of the loop with watching this kind of stuff since I really enjoyed those 10 days without having the world's issues in my head. And lo and behold, Professor Norman Finkelstein was on her show. And I have so much regard for this man. I had thought it was just a 2-decade thing that he'd been discussing the plight of that group of people. But actually, I think it's been around 40 years where he's been talking about them and sticking up for them. And I just have a lot of regard for people who have integrity, and he has an abundance of integrity. He's a lion. He's a lion surrounded by a bunch of sheep. And I think what's particularly amazing about him is that his career has suffered because he stuck to his guns, he stuck to his convictions. And not only has his career suffered, but can you imagine being from the community that he's in and talking against certain aspects of his community? That must have been even harder to a greater extent than his career, even, because they're your people. So I'm glad he's finally getting his dues. I'm glad that he's finally being recognized for his humanitarian work. And as much as I rag on Piers Morgan, the great thing about him is that he's brought so many very intelligent and righteous and moral people to the public's awareness. That's where I found out about Professor Morandi. That's where I found out about Professor Finkelstein. That's where I found out about Professor John Mearsheimer. I always get his name wrong. Mearsheimer. And without that channel, I probably wouldn't have been aware of these people at all, or maybe at a much later stage. So in that sense, whilst I don't have any regard for Piers Morgan, I do for some of the people that he chooses to have on his show. What I did notice, as much as I say to you guys that I think Candice Owens is a fantastic orator, fantastic speaker, she's an excellent speaker, but they have a very, very different way of speaking. And sometimes in this interview, I think she could have given him the grace to just speak, whereas she interrupted sometimes, and she perhaps doesn't have the patience, because he obviously speaks a very slow cadence. I personally love the way he speaks. I really enjoy the way he thinks over his words. I know that a lot of people find the way Professor Finkelstein speaks, they don't have the patience to wait for him to express himself. So it was really interesting to watch their different speaking styles. Yeah, but he's incredible, and I've always thought he's incredibly attractive as well. He's got it. He's in his, I actually looked this up. He's in his 70s, but he looks amazing. And I was thinking, who does he remind me of? He reminds me of someone. And eventually it came to me. You wouldn't believe it, but he reminds me of, maybe you would believe it, now, especially now that he's had his haircut. Yeah, they look so similar now. I'm trying to figure out this man's name. I know the first part of his name. It's not Michael Ball, is it? Seems too easy almost. Michael Ball. No, it's definitely not Michael Ball. Oh my gosh. Michael, what's his song? Can I touch you? Can I touch you there? Touch you in my... Michael Bolton. You began with a B. So he kind of reminds me of Michael Bolton. And, you know, I have a thing for Michael Bolton as well. So I was thinking about this. I was thinking about age. I was thinking how, I mean, I have a bit of a thing for Professor Morandi as well. I don't discuss it because Professor Morandi's married. I can speak freely about Mr. Finkelstein, Professor Finkelstein, because he's not married, as far as I know. And as far as I know, he doesn't have children either. But I tend not to talk about people who are obviously in something because that's slightly inappropriate. But I bet you wouldn't have expected me to say that I have a little bit of a thing for Professor Morandi. You know, it's all about kindness and intellect. I'm a sucker for these two qualities. I really am. And I think what I like about Professor Morandi, especially apart from his kindness and his warmth and his intelligence, obviously, it's the way he speaks and it's his calm. I really like calm people. So anyway, I think I was thinking about age. I was thinking 70-year-old. I think he's 70-year-old, 70 years old. Professor Norman Finkelstein age. And I don't want to reduce these people to just me thinking they're hot, but you know, intelligence and kindness has such an impact on how attractive someone is. Professor Finkelstein is 71 years old, insania in the mania. He looks great. He looks amazing. He's really kept himself in good nick. That's what we want. We want to keep ourselves in good nick. So these people inspire me. I'm like, yeah, I need to work even harder. I'm not really working that hard. I've become very lazy about my exercise regime, as in I do the bare minimum. I do my stretches in the morning, I do my walks, but I'm not really working hard. You know what I mean, guys? I'm not pushing myself. But actually, I think pushing yourself keeps you in really good shape. So I enjoyed listening to them speaking. And I love brave people. I really love brave people. And you know, 40 years, I think that's how long he's been talking about this stuff. And why did I mention the 40 years? Can you imagine having people against you, especially in a society like America, having people against you for 40 years? My career has suffered greatly because I don't play the game. And so in a very, very small way, I understand the difficulties of a man in his position, but in a very tiny way, obviously. 40 years, I can't even imagine you need to have such a strong sense of self and conviction and a sense of righteousness to be able to get through. So yes, I hope people start buying his books, and I hope that he gets his dues, because you know, Professor Morandi, he works at the university. He has a whole nation of people, I think, supporting him. But whenever I've watched Professor Finkelstein on Piers Morgan, I've just been utterly horrified at the way Piers Morgan allows people to just interrupt him, speak over him, belittle him. And, you know, he's got such a strong voice, but he's a kind person because he could go on the attack and he doesn't. Yeah, he's just that I have nothing but good things to say about this man. And the world is slowly feels like it's so slow, but they are starting to wake up. They're starting to wake up. And the natural feeling is to just think, why haven't you people woken up? Why haven't you been aware of this stuff? Why have you had your head buried in the sand? Then you read the comments underneath Candace Owens' video, and people are like, oh, I've just been taken in by blah 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 blah. And you're like, but you're from a so-called first world country where education is available in a plentiful way, and you're telling me that you have just followed the narrative without finding out information on your own. And you're telling me that these people have suffered, and not only them, but my ethnic people have suffered as well due to sanctions and being called names and being accused of this, that, and the other, and they've had to stand with their head held high. And you're telling me that you just followed mainstream media because for I don't understand. Yeah, I don't understand. And yeah, I don't get it. I really don't. One thing that I've really noticed in the time, I think in the past year or so that I've been watching this type of content, what I've noticed is that Americans are really, really involved in their religion, as in they see it as their identity. It's not something that's a silent part of them. It's something that's really in your face. Like even in the comments, they'll say, I'm a this, and this, and I'm a, so they'll mention their religion first, and then they'll mention their politics, and then they'll go into their comment. And I find it, there was one particular comment that I found really interesting, and I screenshot it, but it's on the phone that I'm recording at the moment. But it was this woman who was saying, you know, I'm on the right, and I follow this church or whatever, and I can't understand how you can side with people who are on the left, and it just baffles me. I don't understand it, because I think this is very much a cultural difference between America and the UK. Firstly, I don't think the British are religious in the way that the Americans are. Secondly, as I've said many times before, I could have had friends for years and years and years and still to this day have no idea who they vote for or what they really believe in terms of politics. It's just not something that comes up in conversation, and it's not a part of our identity. I think, without sounding arrogant, I think we are a lot more open-minded. We just accept that you have your beliefs, I have my belief, and it doesn't consume our identity and who we are. I mean, if you were to ask me who I am, I'd say to you, I'm a human being. And that's how I define myself. I'm a human being. If we go a little bit further, I'd say, well, I'm Persian and I'm British. Ethnically Persian and Iranian and British. And if that offends someone, then it offends them. But I don't really, what am I trying to say? My identity on this planet is not defined by a religion or a political group. And so it really baffles me how in America, it's almost like you can't listen to someone else just because they're from a completely different identity to you, well, isn't that sort of some form of racism? Because you're not, racism is not, I don't think racism is the right word. Isn't that a huge form of prejudice that you are not able to listen and understand someone else's point of view just because you think you're right? Well, who gives you who gives you the right to think that you're right? The opinions that I have, you are allowed to disagree with me. It doesn't bother me. It's your right to have the opinions that you have. But it's almost like in America, you can't you can't have those rights. And it reminds me of a video that I'd done a while ago. I think this is when I was talking about the orange faced guy back then, when I actually genuinely thought that he was going to be good for the United States. And the reason I'd always felt that is because I have a huge issue with the propaganda that comes out of mainstream media. And you will know why, because they've destroyed my ethnic people's reputations and culture by the slander that they put out on mainstream media. So my whole thing with him was I didn't particularly care about what he believed in, other than the two things that were really important to me, which is that he was against mainstream media and that he banged on and on and on about the fact that he wasn't going to lead your country, the Americans, into a WAR. And I was like, great, that's what I want to hear. That's really important to me. And I remember I'd been doing those kind of videos, and back then, when I first started my channel, I'd spoken about Jordan Peterson, I'd spoken about Andrew Tate. Who else had I spoken about? Candace Owens. These people who were all, I think, on the right. Well, I didn't know about Jordan Peterson. I don't follow people's politics. I follow them for how they impact my life in the sense of whether they improve my life in some way or whether I think they're doing the right thing for humanity, etc., etc. So I think there had been this one video where one of my long-term viewers back then, he'd been with me since the beginning, and so we had there was a mutual respect. I really respect loyalty and people who, back then, like now, which is kind of nice because I tend to be more open when there are less people around. But back then, I'd have like 5 views, 10 views, 15 views on my videos. And so it felt very intimate. And it felt like a very intimate space. And he had, from what I remember, I hope I'm not wrong, but he'd looked at all the people I was watching and talking about. And his assumption about me had been that I was on the right. And when I read that message, he wrote this really interesting message explaining why he thought that I was on the right. And when I read it, I was by myself, obviously, because I'm always by myself. I was by myself and I just laughed out loud because there's nothing political about me, but also I'd never even looked at these people's politics. I was aware of Candace Owens' politics. The only reason I think I used to talk about her was because of her support of Kanye. I can't even remember if I really talked about her back then. I don't think I did actually. So it was mostly about the orange faced guy that I'd started talking about. It had been about Tate and Peterson. And to this day, I still don't really know anything about Peterson's politics. He's become a bit, he did move away from psychology and psychotherapy and he moved into politics. But at the time that I was watching him, I liked the way he was going against mainstream media and I liked the way that he was improving my life. I read his first book that came out and I liked it. It's a bit waffly, but it had its uses. Why am I mentioning this? It's because that message that had been left on my channel really floored me. As in, I'm in my head, but you're not in my head. So you don't know, you don't have the complete understanding of me. You're seeing maybe 5% of my reality because I don't talk about my background, my personal life. I don't talk about this, that, and the other. So you are making assumptions about me based on where you sit in your beliefs and ideas and ideologies. And because Americans are so identified in their politics and in their religions, I think it's very difficult for them to understand people like me who can watch lots of different types of people, take in lots of different types of content, and talk about people who I might not necessarily agree with in everything, and still see good points about them. As an example, I don't know anything about Nick Fuentes, is that his name? And Tucker Carlson is only coming to my radar because of the interview that he did with the president of Iran, and that he was dismantling the American narrative. That's how Tucker Carlson came into my radar. Nick Fuentes, I don't know anything about him, but I sat and watched some of that interview. And I'm not watching that interview thinking, oh, I don't even know, but people keep saying he's a white supremacist. I'm like, but is he? Because he seems to really like Kanye. How can you be a white supremacist if your background is partly Mexican and you listen to Kanye? You know what I mean? So people, I think in America, one of the biggest difficulties with American culture is that people put so much of their faith and belief system in business people who are running the church. And it's a business. They make money from brainwashing the masses. And in terms of politics, I think that's a form of brainwashing as well, that you're not able to have your own ideas and thinking because your ideas or thinking are stifled or limited because you are identified by these two things, religion and politics. Now, religion, I feel, should be a very personal thing. If you're a religious person, why do you need to state that when you're writing comments underneath YouTube videos? What does that, in my experience of religious people, not all, but some, they tend to do more wrong things than people who are not religious, actually. I can talk about that in another video, but how is it that a lot of the people who are religious in the States tend to be grifters and tend to be people who are just trying to make money off the masses? Similarly with politics, it seems like such a huge grift for me that these people take on these identities so that their channel can have lots of subscribers and viewer counts. So I think this is fundamentally one of the biggest difficulties that America has. And it really shocks me that with the access to education that you have in America, people are so behind in terms of what's going on in the world. And I think this is because America has this feeling of we are number one. It's a very and I don't use this word in a negative way, but it's a very, very self-centered culture in that they don't really look out, which again surprises me because America is so multicultural and diverse. This went off on a tangent, but I think what I wanted to say was the more I watch Americans speaking and the comments that come under YouTube videos, the more I realize that I think Americans are really behind in terms of what's going on in the world, and I think they're less open-minded. Having said that, some of the best speakers that I hear are American. As in, I was thinking, I often think about this. Who do I love listening to in the UK? Who captures me in terms of how they speak, in terms of their oration. And there's actually no one in the UK that grabs me other than one person, and that's Mr. George Galloway. And he's a fantastic orator. But when you listen to a lot of the Americans who are speaking, I find many of them to be incredible orators, including Miss Candace Owens, including Professor Norman Finkelstein. So I have hope for America, but I think Americans are bound by this identity of politics and religion that's really holding them back, stopping them from really understanding what's going on in the world. This was not about, this was, yeah, I've just come on to say how I enjoyed that interview with Mr. Professor Finkelstein, and that he still got it. And then we got to hear there was one other thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to eat a little bit of humble pie here. Yeah, I'm going to, because I always say things like, don't limit yourself, don't let people limit you, or don't let ideology limit you. And then I was thinking about how I'm limiting myself by being slightly not open to dating in the UK. Well, I'm here, I'm in the UK. And I'm limiting myself because I think I'd said in one of my previous videos, what had I said? I'd said, men in the UK don't, or in London, I didn't say the UK, I said men in London don't have a vibe. And I said, it's a limitation for me. It's a limitation that they don't have a vibe because it means I have to date outside of London. Now, who's limiting who? I'm probably, let's be honest, I'm probably limiting myself here. And so I've been thinking about that. And then I've been wanting to watch Baby Girl for a while. I have no interest in Nicole Kidman. She's not an actress that I take to. Her look doesn't really appeal to me. Yeah, she's not someone that I have any interest in whatsoever. But I really want to watch Harris Dickinson. He's someone I've talked about before because I watched him in a film called, I've done a video on this, Triangle of Sadness, an incredible video by a writer and probably director. I think he directs his own movies, who I love, and I always forget his name, but let's find out his name. Harris Dickinson is a British actor, and he did Baby Girl with Nicole Kidman. It's a movie about a young guy, an intern who gets a job in her company, and they have this illicit affair, and she is married to Antonio Banderas. It has somewhat of a unfaithful theme for me, not in terms of the age difference, but in terms of a married woman being happily married, but then someone else comes along and their whole world sort of turns upside down. But there's also the fact that there's this age gap difference, which I find interesting as well. I think it's interesting. I think we all find that kind of thing interesting. Okay, I shouldn't have done that. I find it particularly interesting because, for a long while I was like, well, I can't waste time like that by dating younger if there's a potential that I might want to have kids, etc. But recently I've been thinking, okay, I'm limiting myself here because I'm an honest person. So whoever I date would get if they were much younger, they'd be like, well, and I'm sure they'd be happy with that themselves. I don't think younger men are trying to date older women to settle down with. But that conversation would, of course, be had. There's a time limit on this. And if that were to happen, if those feelings were to arise, obviously that conversation would have to happen. It just doesn't work. Older women, younger men doesn't work in the long term. Older men, younger women, yes. So I've been thinking about this age thing because I'm thinking Professor Finkelstein, Professor Morandi, these people are just so attractive to me. And then I've been wanting to watch Baby Girl because of Harris Dickinson. He was in Triangle Sadness. I'm trying to find the director's name. Director, Triangle Sadness. He's a man I've told you also about because Ruben Ostlund, who is Norwegian, Finnish. He's neither, is he? Isn't he? Ruben Ostlund. Swedish. Copenhagen. Swedish. Okay. So he'd done this. The first movie of his that I saw was called The Square, and I've talked about this film several times. I connect on so many different levels with this film. I love it so much. I need to go back and watch it and maybe discuss it again with you. I love this film. I love it. I love this director. I like the way he writes. I like the way he discusses human emotions and thoughts unapologetically. There are things that we think that we don't say, but Ruben Ostlund really discovers and pulls apart human emotions, human thinking, human desire. And that film is an amazing film. If you're going to watch any of his films, watch The Square. Then I went and watched Force Majeure, which was done before, I think, The Square. Correct. Force Majeure was 2014, The Square 2017. There's this beautiful scene in Force Majeure where it's a couple, there's an avalanche coming down, and the father, the husband, he doesn't protect the children. He's sitting there with his wife and the kids. This avalanche is coming at them, and he doesn't protect them. And the whole film centers around how the children and the wife think he's just basically a coward. Fantastic film. Amazing film. You've got to watch that as well. And finally, in 2022, but I only watched it maybe last year, the year before, I went and watched Triangle Sadness, which was released in 2022. This is where I discovered Harris Dickinson. He's incredible. He's amazing. British actor. If I didn't already say that, so here's me eating humble pie. Harris Dickinson has the vibe that I'm looking for, okay? He has the vibe that I'm looking for. And if you want to understand the vibe that I'm talking about, you need to go and, I'll clip it for you. I've got you, my friends, I've got you. You've got to go 36 minutes. You've got to go and watch this scene with him, I've talked about it, in a restaurant with his girlfriend, who's a model, makes more money than him, and she just, oh, she's so entitled. This scene really irritates me, you guys, because I've talked before about how I tend to be, you know, I've become very open-minded about this whole paying thing. In the past, I suppose I've always, without seeking it out, I've always tended to date men who just take care of that kind of thing. But as I've got older, I've become more thoughtful about it, as in, well, why do they need to take care of that thing? I've really thought about it a lot. And you know, I'm that girl who I will actually offer, can I help you with the bill? I'll do that. I'll do that. And they always decline, which is really, really lovely and generous and kind. But I wouldn't judge it if someone said, you know what would be better? I think this idea of splitting the thing, no, let's not do that. But I think if the man said to me, no, I've got this, but you can, if you would like to, you can maybe do something next time, or, you know, you do small things for them. And I think I'd be sort of open to that at this older age. Maybe With younger men, I'd certainly be open to it with younger men, because younger men are starting out. Younger men, they're starting out, and I think we need to have a lot of grace for that. Older men, if an older man were to say that to me, they just wouldn't. They just wouldn't. They wouldn't. It's a complicated topic, and I find it really, really hard to talk about. But I just want to say that I understand men's positions, and please just stop making my lips look this red. It's not natural. Please. I just need to finish this video in one piece. I'm open-minded, okay? I'm open-minded. So this clip really frustrated me because I don't know if I have time to play it for you. Screw it. I'm gonna play it for you. She's just so entitled, you guys. And he's so emotionally intelligent, and he has a vibe. He's a kind person. You can tell he's a kind person. And I like that he sticks up for himself. And what I find difficult with this scene, there's actually two scenes. I'm going to play you a little bit of this scene and the next scene where he really comes into his own. What I find difficult in this scene is that she goes back on her word, and I find this aspect of it unacceptable. Let's play you a little bit of it. It's the dinner date scene. Won't play you all of it because I'm going to play you the next scene as well. So he's paying the bill.
I don't know, you look like you were thinking it.
Oh, no, I'm not. Cool.
Come on, I can tell you something wrong. Just talk to me. What is it?
No, it's just when you say thank you, honey, like that. I mean, you don't really give me an option but to pay. It was just an observation because something I've noticed.
Oh, we can split the bill if you like.
No.
I can whip out a calculator and we can.
No, okay, you need to.
How many glasses of wine did you have?
Oh, sure,
Like, you had,
sure.
like, 3
Shut
more,
up.
right?
Okay, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
Yeah, I think it all evens out, you know?
Don't you remember last night you said you were gonna pay for food today? At the end of the meal you said, thanks, tomorrow I'll get it.
Sure, but then you picked up the bill and I thought you wanted to pay, so I said thank you, honey.
Okay, but it was there for such a long time. I mean...
I didn't see it.
You need to watch this scene. The bill's there for such a long time, as he says, and she's just doing her makeup, pretending that she hasn't noticed that the bill's arrived. And, you know, she makes a kind of good point in the next video. I'm going to play it for you. She says, well, you know, you're staying at my place in the hotel free. And I think that's actually a really valid point. But it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's that she made a promise and she went back on her promise. On top of that, they get into this little fight in this restaurant, and her card gets, she throws her card on the table. It gets declined, so she pulls out a $50 note, and I don't know whether maybe it's not enough or something like that. So he ends up paying. And then she puts the $50 or £50 note, whatever it is, back into her purse. I mean, it's just awkward all around. It's just the whole scene is really awkward. It makes me cringe majorly. So I want you to hear this scene, because this is when his passion shows. I love men who are calm, but then when they really believe in something, their passion comes out. And this is his passion coming out.
The funny thing about starting
And I came back to this scene because, just to tell you why. Oh, let me play this scene for you and then I'll tell you why.
I enjoy paying for you, but there comes a point where I just do feel used.
Where I use you?
Well, I'm just referring to my feelings now, but sure, if we... No, just wait. If we go back the last week or so, then yeah, maybe there is a point.
Are you being serious? I got you the shirt. I invited you for dinner. You're staying in my hotel.
Well, you got this shirt for free, and actually you didn't pay for dinner, so...
Yeah, but that's because my card didn't work. There is a cash machine in the lobby. I'll pay you back every last
Do
cent
you know
right
what?
this minute.
It's okay.
Carl always intended to pay you back. I just didn't realize that you wanted the money right now before going to bed.
So your intention was to pay me back?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So why did you take the €50 bill? Once I realised you didn't have enough cash, I paid the bill. And then instead of giving me the €50 bill, you put it back in your purse. What? I'm just saying what happened, Yaya. What did you... What the fuck are you doing? Don't fucking do that to me. Don't fucking do that to me, Yaya.
That's hot. That's what you want. You want someone, you want to be with someone who's calm, but when you cross the boundaries, they can stick up for themselves. So I'm gonna eat humble pie. I really am. This man has a vibe. He has the most lush accent, and he's incredibly calm. But then you can see in moments like this passion comes out. So perhaps I can date British men after all. And I was thinking the other day, I've got this channel. I can't use dating sites because I think it's ridiculous. I don't go out anymore. But you know, gentlemen of the UK, I will be ready to be dating next year. And I was thinking about this whole age thing. So how did I come about thinking about Harris Dickinson yesterday? Randomly, this scene of his and Baby Girl, who no one has told me about. Why has no one told me about this scene? I've been waiting to watch this film because it's just not available to rent. Like, you have to buy it, and I'm just waiting for it to become available to rent. There's this scene of him dancing, and he's dancing to... I'm going to just play it for you because it's so freaking hot, you guys. And you know what I always say to you guys? That I love slim, skinny men who are told his physique in this movie is everything. Okay, he's got the tattoos. We can look past that. But his body...
Get excited, everyone, because...
His body is amazing. And his back, there's this moment when he turns his back and his back muscles. And, you know, you can feel his bones. The point is, we need to be able to feel your bones. I don't want to feel chunky monkey, as in muscly bustle bound. I don't want to feel fat. I just would like to feel your bones, okay? It's a beautiful scene. Gorgeous. He's wearing this gold necklace, and I really like it when, yeah, like that accent around the neck. It really accentuates the neck. So this is a beautiful physique, and I was thinking about age difference because Nicole Kidman was just sitting there watching him as he's doing this dance, and she's just so stiff and it's just like no expression on her face. I'm like, come on, Nicole, come on, give us something. But when I was watching other scenes with her, she's really looked after herself. She looks good for her. I don't know how old she is, but she looks good. And I was thinking about age difference. Because I've been thinking about Professor Finkelstein. I was like, that's a big age gap. And then I was thinking about him. I don't know how old he is. And I was thinking, could I go there? And I was thinking, one of the difficulties is that, why do I always say there's British men don't have a vibe? I think I've been around the wrong, unfortunately, these psychopaths and these just, yeah, they've really ruined it for me. Have they all been British? No, one of them was American in the UK. And you know, I don't hang out with these people on purpose in past tense. They sort of just came into my zone very accidentally. But I think it's a younger person versus older person thing as well, because the way that he talks is not how older British gentlemen speak. They have this officey way of speaking which does nothing for me. He speaks in a really beautiful way. It's such a nice accent, and the cadence and the sound. So anyway, I was thinking about, could I go that much younger? Age 29 years. I mean, it's above 25. But yeah, I think recently I've been thinking 15 years younger, 20 years above. I think it's okay. It's acceptable. It's okay. It's acceptable. 10 years younger is probably slightly better. But maybe 15 years younger. 29 years, it's okay. Yeah, it's all right. But I think this is why older men love younger women. Just energy and youth and passion. You'll not find. But then her husband, I haven't really seen Antonio Banderas in this movie, but there was a scene where he's really passionate. And then why do younger people prefer older people, like younger men, or younger women prefer older men? It's wisdom, it's calmness, it's a confidence. But he's incredibly confident as a young man as well. So yeah, I always come back to this thing that age is nothing but a number. And if you keep yourself in good condition, yeah, if you keep yourself in good condition, it's all about love at the end of the day. It's a gorgeous scene. I'm going to link it for you. His dancing is just so, it's casual, It's the way he uses his eyes when he's looking at her. So yeah, I'm definitely going to watch this film. And I've got my eye on him. What I love about his acting is that it's not like he's acting. It's just like he's talking. And I've noticed this in all his films. It's just like he's talking. And this is the type of acting that's very effortless and natural to me. And I really rate it. Reminds me a little bit of Scarlett Johansson when she first came out onto the scene in Lost in Translation, the film that was set in Tokyo with Bill Murray. It was like she was just talking. She had this effortless way of speaking or acting. It's just like she was talking. And I really enjoy this particular type of acting. 52 minutes, wow. Did I want to say anything else? And Triangle of Sadness is the scene at the end when he's running. I won't spoil the movie for you, but he's running at the end. And I wonder if that's how I discovered Fred again. So I'd heard that track that's played in this film, Triangle of Sadness, at the end when he's running through this foliage. And I didn't know who it was, had no idea who it was, could not find out. I'd heard it on someone's Instagram video, I think, and I just couldn't find out who this track was by. I think I watched Triangle of Sadness and it came up at the end of the scene. And I was like, it's here again. It's a great track. I've come to the conclusion that Fred Again is too commercial for me, but this is one of his tracks that I love. As putting my producer hat on, he spoils it with this sample of this lady speaking over and over and over again. It drives me mad. Like, it has an effect. It's effective right at the beginning of the track. Just play it then let it go. He keeps playing it throughout the track. It just completely ruins the track. Anyway, Ruben Östlund, getting this name wrong. Ruben Östlund, he'd use this track. He's very good at picking tracks. In the film The Square, there's this one scene in a car and he plays this track. It's such a tune, and the way that these guys in the car vibe to this track. So he's got a really good ear for music. So then I felt like listening to this Fred Again track, but I couldn't deal with listening to this girl's voice over the track repeatedly. So I found a version where someone had taken it off. What's his name? Mundu. Thank you, Mundu. So this is... Okay guys, I'm gonna go and eat some humble pie. I have to go out, but I just want to stay home. I just want to stay home.